So the topic today, I had a sleepless night this past week. And at some point in that night, it was like, oh, let's read something spiritual. Maybe that'll help. And you're right. Susan's right. Okay, so if there's anybody out there who thinks we've got it all together, then you haven't been paying attention. And we're not, we're all growing. And as we grow, we stumble. Every time we come to the edge of all that we know, we're in the land of what we don't know, and we stumble and stuff. We feel stuff. And we talked about how we felt a couple of weeks ago. And so this is the third in my series of The Art of Living. And the first 2 weeks ago, I talked about manage your emotions or they will manage you. And last week I talked about own your mind or the world will. And so in The Art of Living today, in this book, The Science of Successful Living by Raymond Charles Barker, which I turn to in the dark hours, in the wee small hours of the morning, he writes, spiritual thinkers have realized the importance of directing the mind to great ideas rather than keeping it at the level of daily routines. Daily routines which absorb you with the petty, the tiresome, and the disconcerting. I'm like, wait a minute, daily routines, okay, yeah, right, whatever. But no, which absorb you in the petty, the tiresome, and the disconcerting. So clearly the art of living is not about living like that. He writes later on in this chapter called The Necessity of Creative Ideas. The constant repetition of negatives in your thinking causes your subconscious mind to produce more difficulties in your experience. Possibly you dread the future. You can't see much health, prosperity, or happiness ahead of you. If you will watch your thinking and your moods, you will discover the reason for this. Over the past months, perhaps years, you have been mentally convincing yourself each day that the future is dark. Well, we've all been given a timeout the past 6 months or so. And every one of us has had to spend more time with our own thinking. And so, how are you feeling today? Have you had your mind absorbed with the negatives, with dreading the future, not seeing much health, prosperity, or happiness ahead of you? Well, if you listen to the world, that's where you would be thinking. And I've been attending this Geneva conference the past yesterday and this next couple of days. Thank you, virtual meetings. And Reverend Dr. Jim Lockhart, he was the keynote speaker, and he spoke. His topic yesterday was creativity is a key to thriving. And he asked the question, where is the new in my life? Second question, and is it coming from the outside or from the inside? So what we tend to do as human beings, because come on, the art of living, it's simple, but it's not easy to practice. I was knowing the best, and I have like the whole core of our Practitioners Association has been treating for me all this week because our office physically relocated just down the hall. I mean, we're on the same building, the same floor, but everything got moved. And I knew that this is the kind of condition in the world that usually makes me cranky. And so I asked everyone to treat that I just not be cranky. And so there were last minute changes, whatever, beautifully handled thanks to the treatment. But before it all happened, yeah, in the middle of the night, I woke up with me, with my own thinking. And I have to admit and share with you that I believe I've been doing a pretty good job with responding to what the world is doing. Not reacting, but responding. That's a step up, right? Reacting is, right? Whatever, we've all been there, right? But reacting, like, what do I choose to think? But Raymond Charles Barker is telling us so much more is needed. That yes, we do want to respond to what the world is doing, but the real art of living the life that's been given to each one of us is by thinking something new. And the world right now is giving us nothing new. So Jim's question is, where is the new in my life coming from? Is it coming from the outside? Well, if it's coming from the outside, there's nothing good, new coming from the outside that I can come up with. So all the new that is in my life has to come from my inside, my thinking of creative ideas. And one of the shockers that I've had these past 6 months or throughout 2020 is how much of the new inspiration that I'm used to absorbing into myself and getting thrilled about and feeling lively about apparently has come from the outside, because that has shut down. The new, good, great ideas I'm not getting fed from the outside world. And it's not the world's fault. It never was meant to come from there. Our lives, right, come from our own thinking. And so it's up to each one of us to consciously court new, creative, big ideas. Big ideas. Ideas that get you filled with the thrill of living and maybe a little scared. If you don't have a big creative idea that's getting you all thrilled and maybe a little scared, then you're not thinking big enough. That's living, right? Being filled with the fullness of life, full with the fullness of life, not just half full. Like I'm tolerating, I'm accepting, I'm doing pretty well. I mean, my life is wonderful. I've got nothing to complain about, and yet I will. But I've created through my thinking after coming to this teaching a life I really do enjoy living. And it is very, very comfortable. And the thrill is gone. Because the thrill comes from new, creative ideas. And so we have to search for them. We have to look for them. Well, Raymond Charles Barker, thank God, gives us an answer. He says, by changing your conditioning through the repetition of spiritual ideas, you change what you receive in life. And he says, let me see if I can find it, or I'll just make it up. He says, no one has ever contemplated the divine nature of themselves and not been benefited. Contemplating your divine nature is the way we consciously court new ideas. Years ago, there was a term out there in the business world, and I did a couple of talks about BHAGs. You got to have a BHAG, B-H-A-G, a big, hairy, audacious goal. BHAG. But Raymond Charles Barker is telling us that this is necessary. And so those of us who have been, like me, happy. I've got a very happy life. It's very comfortable and very healthy. My life is wonderful. Yeah, I got some stuff going on, like we had to move and, maybe, every once in a while, I have to think about my money, and sometimes I have to focus on some relationships, whatever, But compared to the way my life was before I ever came into this teaching, I'm telling you, I am on easy street. Because before I came into this teaching, my life was a continuous nightmare, disaster, problems, issues, arguments, fights, screaming, blah, 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 blah. And so now it's all very nice. Very nice life. Very nice life. Very nice life. Very boring life, according to Raymond Charles Barker. And so to consciously court those new ideas, right? A number of us have been on the planet for a number of years. Not pointing, not looking at anyone, not pointing at any fingers on anybody, but we may think we know it all. We may think, well, I'm done. We may think, okay, now it's my time to retire and relax and just to enjoy all that I have put into this world. However, that's a human concept and it's not the divine. The divine does not have retirement planned for us. The divine is saying, I created you to create. And because the divine is continuously, endlessly creating something new, and it's been doing it for all time, the whole time that time has existed, and who knows what before, it expects us to do the same. What are you creating new now? What thought, what new idea do you have about yourself and your life that's scaring you to think? That you're going, ooh. I mean, you could, there's thoughts out there that could clearly scare me, like jumping out of an airplane. I have not done that yet. I know some of you have. You recommend it. Good for you. But what ideas are fabulous for you to contemplate and scaring you, because you know that if you keep contemplating them, they're going to take hold. And if they take hold, you're going to have to change. And you're going to have to make some decisions. And yet you might even have to move. The biggest fear I have of all time. Pack up all your stuff and move. And if we are not contemplating something with that potential in it, we're not fully enjoying a successful life, what's possible for us. So Dr. Jim Lockhart's question, where is the new in my life? Is it coming from the outside or from me, from inside? So you can ask yourself right now, where is the new in your life? Is there any? Maybe there isn't. That's what I thought, after a couple of months of our staycation, I was like, where's the new in my life? Nothing. I can't, and I knew I can't live like this. I got to make something up. I got to make something up to be alive again and to bring newness into my life. And it didn't matter what it was. I started putting jigsaw puzzles together. It's something. It's different than what I had been doing. What else am I going to do? What else? And so realizing if there's nothing new in your life, then you need to realize that and then do something about it. And what we do is we consciously court new ideas. What is something you've never thought about before? You've never looked at before. Maybe you thought you wouldn't be interested in before. I've been taking Italian now for over a year. And at some point during this whole thing, I thought, especially when my trip to Italy got canceled, I thought, well, what am I learning Italian for? Who cares about this? I never cared about it. If I were to pick a language, I would have picked a different one, something a little bit more useful. But Italian, who needs that? Why am I speaking Italian? Who cares? I just thought I would go to Italy and do some cooking. And the little Italian woman in her home would be saying some Italian words, and I would go, oh yeah, she just said onion. I know what she said. That was my goal. And so when all of that got canceled and I'm still enrolled in these Italian classes, I'm like, what am I learning it for? And I had to come up with a better idea. I was ready to let it all go, but somehow asking the question without answering it right away, letting it be an open-ended question for the divine to descend. I asked the question, what am I learning Italian for? And the divine said at some point, I was listening to a podcast and someone mentioned an Italian singer singing some song. So I Googled it and I discovered contemporary Italian music. Well, I went nuts because I also was a little bored with our music right now. I'm like, oh, I need some more music. I need a different genre. Well, I found Italian music. My goodness, the songs. And then there I am, Googling the lyrics, translating the lyrics, memorizing the song, singing along with them, just enjoying myself. And then I started looking at these people, these singers, and I'm getting interested in them. And all of a sudden, the learning Italian became something new to me. It wasn't let me learn Italian so I can maybe understand what someone says to me while I'm there for a week. It became, wow, there's this whole country of newness for me to explore. And you know what? I bet there's other countries out there. It's not just all about, the United States. We've got Craig on here. I mean, he's gone to Thailand. He knows what I'm talking about. He's toured the world with Tony Robbins. He knows what he's talking about. But that thing is, I mean, there's a whole new country out there. But, so I'm all fascinated with Italy right now. But the thing is there's a whole new country in our consciousnesses available for us to explore and to go, wait, this is all new. This is all, I don't know my way around. I don't know the language. I don't know how to do this, but oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled to be here. This is the living that we were meant to be living all the time, our whole lives. And it requires always the bringing in of the new thrilling idea that makes us question everything. I love that we moved. I love that we moved our office. And in the very last moments of the move, our moving company said with me, as Mary knew they would, you have to empty all your file cabinets and the desk and the credenza. I thought we could pack them tight and the movers would move them. Apparently, they cannot physically pick up things that are totally packed to the gills and are, 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide. Apparently, that's not possible for them. And so they said, you've got to take it all out. And so I had to agree. And so I took everything out and they were able to move the file cabinet and the credenza and the desk. It's all in our new space. It's beautiful. But everything that I pulled out, I am telling you, I have no idea. It is in our new space, but please don't ask me to find anything. It's all over. And as I had to find something before I finished that day. So after the movers left and I'm there all by myself, I realized I had to find our file from our phone company. And I sat down with these folders that I had pulled out of our file cabinet. And I'm going through, and of course I didn't, I pulled them out in batches and then put them down. So they're not all alphabetically. They're like in a batch alphabetical, and then a different batch, a different bunch of ones in alphabet, and then whatever. So I was going through all of them, looking for Verizon, and the folder wasn't there. And I'm like, well, maybe it's the end of this one, and I need to go and find another batch of things that are alphabetically whatever. Where are the X's? Where are the Y's? Where are the Z's? Apparently, we don't have any X, Y's, or Z's in our file cabinet. But as I was going through all these folders that have been in our file cabinet for the whole time I have been here, so we're talking 25 years, I don't know what those folders were doing before I came, but when I came, they were in this file cabinet. That's 25 years. They have not all been taken out of that file cabinet ever. And I've pulled one out at a time and maybe looked at it going, oh, got to go through this someday. Put it back in. And now it's all out. And I'm thinking, this is all new. And it is a good time to look at everything with the eyes of the new consciousness, the Italian consciousness, whatever that is, the eyes of the new consciousness, and decide, is this a part of the future? Or is this part of what has been released and gone? Everything. Those of you who have physically moved, you know what I'm talking about. You unpack everything, like, what are we keeping this stuff for? The things that had fallen behind the credenza. I knew the stuff had fallen there over the years. I got to see what they were. None of those things are needed. None of them. Nothing. So, what do? Raymond Charles Barker tells us very simply what to do. He said, there is no simple rule for a happier life. Successful living is hard work. But this hard work is simplified when you realize it takes place in your consciousness. So as Ernest Holmes has said, not something for nothing. We are not teaching, oh, we just think good thoughts and all the good stuff starts happening. We don't. If we did, right? Susan and I wouldn't have had a week like we had. It's not that. It's mental. We earn our good through mental and spiritual coin, but not hard labor out as the world labors with struggle and troubles and whatever. No, hard work as in I have to keep my mind stayed on the good, stayed on spirit, stayed on God. So he says, life is the movement of intelligence through law and order, producing what you select to have in your experience. And here's where he's kind. He throws us a bone. Out of all his books, here's the bone. I realize that you cannot keep your mind affirmative 24 hours a day. No individual can do this. Thank God. Off the hook, right? However, you can take 5 minutes each morning to quietly and confidently do spiritual thinking. Contemplate spiritual ideas and believe them possible for you to demonstrate. You have a right to health, peace of mind, a goodly measure of this world's goods, and creative self-expression. In your quiet thinking, select your future. Select your future. Then accept it as normal for you, and then expect it to happen. And then give thanks that all the ways and means to bring it to pass are already in action. But it starts with inviting these new ideas. And it's so easy to live your whole life without inviting a new idea. And the new idea aren't the new ideas that are out there in the world. These really good, really big ideas only come from the contemplation of the divine, where all things come. Because the new ideas that are going to get you excited are yours, not done by anyone else. Right? Remember the past few weeks we've been saying, and John's class tomorrow morning is this thing called you, right? That's it, this thing called you. The thing is that your life is unique. We've been saying this late, it's unique. It's not a repetition of anyone else's life. We're not the law of averages. We're not the mass mind group think. We're not like, the supernumeraries, Gone with the Wind. Each one of us is the protagonist of our own story. And something is done upon us and we are affected and we are changed, but we are the hero of our own story. And the hero of every story, I mean, is forced or begins the story with choosing a greater, newer, more wonderful idea. The really great movies, the really great stories, as I trace them, I can always see somehow the poor protagonist unknowingly says in some way, I wish there were more in some way. Or they say in Baby Boom, Diane Keaton said they were promoting her, and the president or whatever who was having lunch with her said, now listen, if we promote you, it's going to demand even more hours from you. And, you know, how's your partner going to think? And, you know, there's going to be no time for your family. And Diane Keaton said, listen, I don't want it all. I want the promotion. I don't want it all. She said that out loud. And of course, the law drops a baby in her lap and says, here, it's yours. And then all her plans went to you know where. So your life requires you to receive from the divine a new idea meant for you alone that shakes you up. No one else. It might make everyone else cranky. Go get your own new idea. And this is mine, right? But it's your idea and you know what it is. I actually have a new idea now. I have a new idea. It's very scary. I'm not going to tell you. Because if I don't tell you, I can back out of it. It's so scary. But it's only scary for me. If I share it with someone else will go, what the heck? That's nothing. But it's living your full life. So it's going to be scary for you. He says, I have to find this one. I said that. New ideas are the key to new experiences. Saying that success, true love, or perfect health have passed you by only means that you have let it go past. Yes. New ideas are the key to new experiences. Saying that success, true love, or perfect health have passed you by only means that you have let it go past. I'm sure every one of us have had great thoughts like, oh, I'd love to have, and then we let it go past. I'd love to blah, 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 but I'm really busy right now. I'd love to, I'll think about that once this world situation is all over. But the creative law creates based upon what we choose and what we believe and what we accept and what we expect. And if we aren't doing that work in our own thinking, the law's got nothing to create for us except the petty, the tiresome, and the disconcerting. So, with that to disturb us, let us move forward. Reverend Rich, let's have some music.
Okay.